Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Davis. I am the president and CEO of the JAX Chamber. I wanted to welcome everyone to the webinar today. We are working on some technical difficulties as we speak. The mayor is receiving a new link to make sure he can get on, so bear with us for a second. I do have Brian Wolfburg, CEO of VyStar, with us today. And Brian, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to help talk to some of our small business owners in the community and let them know a little bit about what's happening in your world. And when the mayor comes on, we'll talk about the program that has been introduced to the community between the partnership between you and the city. So first of all, is the family good, Brian? Everybody healthy right now?
Absolutely, Daniel. Thank you for inviting me to join. Family is doing well. We have been home for several weeks now and definitely cut down on our interactions with anyone. And so we've been able to stay healthy and stay good. A little challenging to entertain a 3-year-old all day long, but we're doing well.
I can only imagine. A lot of my kids are all grown up, so it's much easier, but a lot of my friends and employees have the younger kids that they're trying to navigate school and work and maintain civility in the house at the same time. So I fully understand what you're going through. Can you walk us through, before the mayor gets on, I know that you have had some big plans for downtown. You've invested millions already and you plan to invest more. How has this situation that we're in right now as a community, has it affected your thoughts on your investments in downtown or any plans that you have moving forward?
You know, I think obviously being a head of a large organization in town, we've got to take into consideration everything that's going on. And it's caused us some concern and pause, mostly because we have other things to be addressing, like helping our small businesses in the community, our members and our neighbors. But with regards to our investment downtown, each of our projects continues to move forward. In fact, I was on with Lori Boyer earlier this week talking about other things that we're considering as we move into next year. We see this as something that's definitely going to cause some pain for small businesses and ourselves in 2020, but hopefully rebounding strong and continuing to grow.
That's great news, and it's understandable that everybody right now is pivoting to just figure out where we land on our feet so we can start making good business decisions moving forward. Even the chamber's doing that, and so we know that that's the prudent thing to do. Can you talk a little bit about, it's probably been some crazy days for everybody at VyStar. I've had lots of small businesses calling me anxious to understand the Paycheck Protection Program that, I mean, we're not talking about that exactly today, but since I have you, what do you see happening with that? And what's been the experience inside the walls at VyStar?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you think about that we have roughly 2,000 employees spread out over about 60 locations, and you immediately move into a state in which you need to get as many of those people who are back office to work from home as quick as possible, and take your front office locations and close down the lobbies and move to drive-through only, to disperse our call center so that we can continue to take calls while transaction levels in our branches are dropping and call numbers in our contact center are spiking. That's not an operation level that we were set up for. Even when we talk about we might get surges in our call center on different days and we staff for that, but we've never staffed for a 50% increase in the number of calls coming into our contact center. So when we look at that, and then behind the scenes, all of the financial changes that have occurred with the Fed moving interest rates and us having to address our budgets and our planning while handling everything that's going on with the small business community, it's been a lot. It's been a lot to take on at this time. We've got a good-sized small business team, but we're obviously a regional financial institution, and those individuals have worked night and day through the weekend to try and keep up with all of this demand. We went live first with the SBA PPP program. That has had its challenges. I think the numbers I've seen is that the SBA took in the first 24 hours, probably what they normally take in a year with regards to just interest forms and applications. And so the whole system bogged down, which that's to be expected. The problem is we've got a lot of people who are anxious, concerned about their business. They're worried. Some of them are getting a little upset. And then we've got a SBA program in the middle that's trying to do more than they've ever done and trying to change their policies, their procedures, their application process in the middle. And financial institutions that are trying to execute on that are built for a certain level of activity. And so when you take a team of 10 or 20 or 30 individuals and you take their loan applications from maybe a couple $100,000 a day, a loan, 2 loans, 5 loans, whatever that is, and you make it 100 million within 3 days, there is going to be some strain on the system. And so we've been in a state of flux across our organization, trying to do everything we can for our members, our small business members, our community, the nonprofits, the cultural organizations, but it has been trying. I've got a lot of great people out there who are doing a lot of great things, and they are definitely working long hours with the best of intentions, trying to get every one of these businesses funds as quickly as possible. We live in this community. There would be no reason for us not to want to help these organizations and to keep everything moving forward.
Great. Those are, did I lose you on the screen, Brian? Let's see. There you go. All right. I just wanted to make sure I still had you. We do have a lot of questions coming in. I know the mayor is texting, asking if he can call in. So if my technical folks can figure out a way for the mayor to call in, that'd be great. We have questions coming in. Bear with me one second. I got a lot going on. So the first question, Brian, these are 5-year loans, switching over to the local discussion. Can we kind of walk through the small business relief loan program, and how did you come up with this, working with the mayor's office? And I would tell everybody, if you go to the JAX Chamber COVID-19 website, all you have to do is Google JAX Chamber COVID-19. We have a bill summary of everything that was passed. It's very easy to read and what the parameters are. And you could follow along while Brian discusses this. But Brian, can you talk to us a little bit about how this came to be and what your vision was for it?
Yeah, I would definitely not want to take credit for the bill and or the program in the current condition that it came out. That was the work of a lot of great people on both sides. And I would say that what happened is we had worked through how to address our operations. We then immediately moved into handling our employee base. We moved over to handling our consumer members and getting all of our loan programs set up and our deferrals for them. And then my small business team came forward with an idea about a localized small business relief program. That program was much smaller than what we have rolled out here, and was just a program we were putting forward to try and help the community. At the same time, the city, individuals within the city were thinking through, how do we help the local community? Everyone knew that government stimulus was coming, but that could have some troubles, as we've seen, and that it could take some time to get into people's hands. And I think both sides at the same point were thinking about, how do we make something that's impactful locally and gets out to the community quickly? What we've put together is a program that we can execute on here locally, and we have about a 5-day SLA or service level agreement on that. We ask for, after the loan is submitted, about 3 days for underwriting, and again, that goes back to simply that we are taking in more loans every day than we've done some months. And then we need about 2 days after that to do all the paperwork, get the DocuSigns and fund the accounts. And so, if you talk that this program simply started as a conversation about 2 to 3 weeks ago at most, and came through to the mayor and then to city council quickly, and we were ready to execute on it the next day. We were already had a queue of interested individuals lined up, and we're going to have money in people's hands starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Brian. Hey, Mayor.
Hey, good morning. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Glad to have you. I think most everybody recognizes that in this new world we're living in, that we'll have technical difficulties along the way, and I think most everybody is okay with it. We're just glad to have you. I know how busy you are. Can we step away from the local program just for a second, just to hear from you, Mayor? And I know It's been a tough couple of weeks, and I want to make sure the Molly and the family's good. Can you let the community know how everything's going?
Yeah, I mean, first is to the family. Everybody's going through the same thing, right? Some version of disruption of life, levels of stress, schedules that are just completely out of whack, around each other all the time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, this is a terrible situation. People are dying. People in our community have lost loved ones. They've lost them without being able to be in the room with them. People have died alone. And so it's hard to say there's always a blessing in something knowing that's happened. But the people that I've talked to, and I know for myself, I've spent more times around a table with cards and just talking on bikes with my kids than, in a matter of days than we do often in weeks. The devices are down because everybody's tired of the devices.
Yeah.
I hope we come out of this with that in mind. That said, we got a long haul ahead of us, and the genesis of this, Dan, you know this. My dad owned a small business, a small retail shop when I was a kid, and I can tell you, if he had gone through this without some stimulus or relief, it would have destroyed his business and destroyed our family. And when you're economically destroyed, your health is destroyed. It's just, I knew we had to step up in some way. I ran my own small business for years, with at one point 50 plus employees, and same thing. I can't imagine not being able to operate for even a week. I mean, cash flow matters to businesses, and they don't get access like big businesses do because of underwriting and whatnot. And so I told my team, I told Brian Hughes, I said, I need you to come to me with some ideas. Next thing I know, he's connected with VyStar. Brian, you guys are like stepping up like everywhere these days, that fast, and with a program that's ready to go, that's real cash to businesses fast. And so that's our goal here, get people what they need so we can come out of this responsibly and get people back on their feet.
And Mayor, in a unique way, Brian was just talking about the amount of traffic on the Paycheck Protection and what's happening with SBA and everybody trying to get up to speed. In a weird, unique way, this program could be the stopgap measure that can save businesses in the immediate until they can get their PPP money. Can you talk a little bit about what the program is? I did pull up the bill summary, and our members have the ability to read it. And so, Mayor, if you wanted to start, and just Brian, if you want to talk about some technical aspects of it too, our members can read along as you guys talk about what the actual program is.
I'll just briefly say, big picture, up to $100,000 based on certain criteria. By the way, I've been asked the question, do 1099s count as employees? And my understanding is yes, we can work through this. Folks that run businesses that run with 1099s can count as employee headcounts. The first year is interest only to be paid by the city. The second through 6th year is interest and principal amortized over that period. And if you meet certain employee headcount retention, and then you have the ability to have your interest paid by the city and your principal up to 50% of your principal. The other important piece of this is it's all based on employee headcount, so not the specific employee, because obviously any business may have an employee that's not performing and they may need to make a change. So in other words, if you have 10 employees as of said date, and you have 10 employees the next year and the next year, it doesn't have to be the same number of employees. Those count towards your a criteria to qualify for interest and principal repayment.
So Brian, what do you see as the best part of this with what you all are seeing internally and what you're seeing in all the financial institutions? How can this really help our small businesses?
Yeah, I think that goes back to some of the things you're seeing on the national news about the SBA program. That is absolutely a great program. It's going to get a lot of funds into a lot of people's hands, but there is some complexity and some delays in it. And so I would say the speed to this, getting the money into the small business owners' hands, what we did around this program and why it was so easy for us to build and roll out is that we do small business lending in this community. We have roughly 35,000 small businesses that are members of VyStar. And so we took versions of our old programs and put them together. We simplified our underwriting process, became a little bit more lenient on some of the underwriting aspects. Now, we do have regulators who manage us. We have ratios we have to maintain. And so we do have things we have to keep an eye on. But as much as possible, we flexed on our ability to be lenient and speedy on the underwriting process and to be able to bring that money to market as quick as possible. I think the aspect of if you stay in business and you keep your employee base, there is relief both on the interest side and portions of the principal side. That's going to be huge for these individuals because, as the mayor mentioned, when you're a small business, you're not just responsible. It's already stressful enough thinking about the money that you're taking in to manage your life and to manage your household and your family, but you're responsible for other people in this community, and that weighs heavily on people's shoulders. And if we can play some small part in helping to relieve some of that stress, that makes me really proud as an organization and as a city.
That's great. Mayor, do you have something, or are you good?
I'm good.
The questions are pouring in now, and they're going to go back and forth a little bit, but if we could, I'll just start reading off the questions, and y'all can jump in where you want. This one's for Mayor Curry. Hey, Mayor, thanks for your leadership. Number one, I want to say that myself. I know that UNF ran a poll, and the vast community agrees with your swift decisions and what you've done to keep our community safe, number one. So thanks for your leadership. I just wanted to say that too. Any sense of when you're hearing our businesses like restaurants will be able to safely reopen? I know that's kind of up in the air, but yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, Daniel, to your opening, I have to say that, I have to give a shout out to the physicians and the hospital leads that I talk to regularly, daily, because making decisions 4 weeks ago that it seemed unreasonable because this virus is literally a ghost. You don't see it coming. Having doctors and hospital leaders tell me what they see coming potentially has allowed me to stay strong. So I'm just so grateful for them and the people that work for them every day. In terms of opening up the economy, we're gonna have to follow what the federal government does. That's one of the other things that helped me make decisions early. I was watching an epidemiologist talking about viruses and the spread and how you prevent them. And this particular doc said, he spoke specifically to mayors. You can't save a national economy. You can't do it. That's macroeconomics is up to the federal government and the big businesses. And so make decisions that are in the best interest of the health of your community. So that said, we're going to follow the federal and state government, and we're seeing hints and signs maybe sometime in early May. But I will say this about Jacksonville, like we've done on this, deploying cash quickly to businesses. As we come out of this, I've already tasked my team with getting with healthcare experts to start thinking about if there's another wave of this. And if not this, something else that's similar to this that could shut things down for weeks. And how do we come up with the ability to test rapidly and the ability to trace those that test positive to who they've been around and isolate them quickly, so that even if those around us are in full shutdown mode, the hope is that we can plan to operate with some sense of normalcy. And again, not to overplay this, that will not save the national economy,
Right.
but it will potentially give us a sense of normalcy and allow small businesses and medium-sized businesses to maybe operate more than those around us if we do this right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is hopefully sooner rather than later, but nobody can tell the future. And I think that we want to get those businesses open as quickly as possible. And I appreciate all your support for doing the
Daniel,
takeout.
I would add to that to remember the small businesses that are open. For example, restaurants. You can get your food there. You can, if you're looking to buy some beer or wine instead of running to the big boys, you can now go in and get that stuff packaged up, and that is going to help a small restaurant or small business go day to day. So whatever you can buy in a local business right now that's operating curbside or takeout, I would encourage people to do it.
Amen. That is a great word. More questions. Brian, these are 5-year loans. Can I pay it off early? If I do, is there a penalty?
Yeah, it's actually a 6-year loan. So you got 1 year of draw and then the 5-year repayment period. Different aspects of the interest and principal forgiveness apply to each of those periods. But you can pay it off at any point, and there is no prepayment penalty.
Okay. One more. Do I have to be a VyStar customer to receive this from the city?
You do not have to be a current VyStar member. You do have to be a business operating at least 1 year within Duval, and you need to have between 2 and 100 employees.
Okay. Mayor, we've seen companies change their line of work to keep going through this. What have you learned about the city's resilience during this time? I'm sure you've heard a lot of things that probably aren't out there in the public.
Well, but from a business perspective and from just individuals, I mean, the number of businesses that have reached out to us wanting to help, whether it's to help, we actually had a commercial business help us plug into a supply chain for medical supplies that's actually helping get PPE equipment for healthcare workers. I sanitized my hands this morning with 80% alcohol, which I believe is 160 proof from Bacardi, that they've now shifted to sanitizing. So those are just a couple of examples of what's happening. But the other thing is, I recognize that there are some out there that don't take this seriously, that think there may have been an overreaction. And look, I respect that opinion. I just disagree with it based on what I've seen and know. But by and large, the public gets this, and they are behaving responsibly, and they're not angry. Then they're feeling economic hardship. They're home cooped up, but they understand that this is our moment. And now I'm not overstating that. As a generation, this is our moment for a number of reasons. To keep people from dying right now, but to learn from this and come out of this and ensure that our kids, our grandkids, our nieces, nephews, all the people that we care about aren't dealing with this in 20 or 30 years. Pandemics happen on every 100 years or so. We are a technologically advanced world. We've got to wrap our arms around a solution to this and make sure that the next generation isn't dealing with a complete economic shutdown because there was no planning.
Totally agree. And I feel like people are maybe at first were taking some of the suggestions lightly, but the more that you beat the drum, the more they realize this is really important, not only for to protect our grandparents who may be at risk, but to keep the healthcare system from being overloaded. And I don't know if everybody connected the dots there. Have some questions that may not be exactly on this, but how are you seeing the healthcare system It seems like it's not overloaded right now. What things have been done to make sure that normal people can receive the care that they need? Have you seen that?
It's not overloaded. In fact, the data would suggest that maybe we have had some success in flattening the curve, but you know, when this thing moves, it moves fast, rapidly, as you've seen in New York and some other places. But the hospitals, while we're not seeing a rush in COVID-19 patients, if you will, but it's steady. I mean, they're there. They're being transported and they're being treated. They're already building capacities, which is what you got to do, right? You can't just assume because things look okay that it's not going to, things won't pop. So the local hospitals are have plans in place to immediately add beds if needed as this thing peaks.
All right, Brian, will independent contractors, hairstylists, barbers, 1099 with 1099s qualify for any relief benefits? I think you may have touched on that earlier. The requirements only appear to be for small businesses, but we are our own business. We have been without work and pay since mid-March due to COVID mandates. How would you address that question?
So I think what you're stating is the mayor had referenced earlier that there was coverage for 1099 employees. If you look at the requirements of the loan, it does start with having an employee. I would state that everyone who has a concern should reach out to us. We have on our website, right across the top of VyStarCU.org, we have links for all of the different types of relief that we have. And so while we have a relief program with the city that is based around businesses that have been in business for 1 year and meet employee requirements, we also have consumer relief. We deferred all of our loan payments for both April and May, so none of our 350 to 400,000 consumer loans owe us any payment during the months of April and May. We have 0% $15,000 personal emergency loans, and on and on and on. And so whether it goes through a small business loan application like this, or there's other relief programs that we have that are for individuals. And so we will find the way to get someone qualified to get them the funds that they need to help them through these times.
This next question is for both of you. Mayor, it may be a little bit more technical, so Brian could go for it too. Are these loans going to be underwritten? Do they require any collateral?
Brian, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, so this is, we have a standard operating process around loans, loan applications, underwriting, and documentation. These loans are going through our standard process, but what we did is make adjustment to the requirements of that underwriting process, and we added leniency into a lot of aspects of that so that it could be more lenient and quicker. And these are not secured by any collateral. These are unsecured loans that are being put out there for these members. They're a line of credit, actually, which has a draw period on them. So if you go, you apply for it. If you need X dollars, that's what you're going to take out and use, and you have a backup safety stop behind that because you have the line that you've applied for.
This one's for Mayor Curry. Can nonprofit faith-based businesses apply?
Yes.
So one thing I would like to say, many of our nonprofits, we don't want to see the good people that work for our nonprofits have a gap in pay either. The nonprofit employees' money spends just like a regular for-profit business, and we can't let them fall behind. And I just want to let them know that it's very important for you to make sure you follow all the guidelines too, and get that money to protect those employees.
Absolutely, and I just want to add, Daniel, that if any of your members are hearing, look, I'm a free market guy. I believe that the free market is one of the most valuable things in history, the way what it's provided for societies and civilizations based over history and time. And so some question government stimulus and intervention. To be very clear, government caused this. had to, but this economic disaster is government induced because of what had to be done nationally, state, and local level. So it's our responsibility as government to partner with those in the free market like VyStar and make sure that we help people get back up on their feet.
And the other beauty about making sure we protect employees is when we pick back up, because I think we're going to get just as hot as we were, you don't have to go try to find those employees somewhere. We've been able to keep them and not miss that gap, because that's what happened in 2005 and 6 and 7. And so I think at least we've learned from that.
Agree.
Brian, is it true that you can do the City VyStar program and the PPP program through SBA? I have heard conflicting stances.
So depending on where, or change that sentence, I think what you're asking is, can you apply for both loans? And that's absolutely yes. We have worked with we've got about 500 loans on both sides right now that we've taken in, applications that are at different points in the process, and some individuals are in both of those pools. Just going back on the mayor's comment a minute ago, VyStar reached out immediately to nonprofits, not-for-profits, cultural organizations in the city, and we have not only stepped up to help them with donations and grants that we've been making, but also to get them into both of these programs where applicable, whichever one's right for them.
So that brings me to a question that may be my question. Mayor, your employees keep the city moving and are absolutely vital to the success of the city. How are you keeping everybody working and safe at the same time? And I know some can probably work from home and some can't. What are you seeing to help keep that momentum moving? It's like building inspectors or all the other vital aspects of the city.
Well, many are. Those that can work from home are, and that's a lot of employees in a city the size that we have. But just preaching the social distancing and practicing it. When you practice it in a disciplined way, it becomes kind of the norm. Just for example, when I leave this event, I will be in the office. I've got a briefing to provide the public this afternoon. But the people that are in the office on the 4th floor where I am, we keep our distance. There's no touching or being near each other. We just practice what we're preaching. And that's just, I think, it must be the new norm for a while. I also believe that as people have become more aware of washing their hands and how they engage unnecessarily sometimes in close spaces with people that maybe they don't know, I think it's going to change behaviors in a way that may cut down on even the flu in the years ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Brian, how about you with the amount of employees you have? How have you guys adjusted internally to keep? I mean, you've got more business than you've ever had before, and you got to keep everybody safe. What are you doing?
So as soon as the guidance started coming out from the city, we quickly shifted to move a lot of our back office operations to work from home. We had several hundred individuals that were set up to work from home, but our IT team went to work around the clock, not only taking what equipment we had and preparing it along with VPN and Citrix sign-ins, but also securing additional IT equipment for more people to work from home. So we have distributed probably about 1,200 of our back office employees out to work from home. We've been doing this probably, I'm losing track of time here, but maybe a month or more since we started all this. So as soon as the ask came out, we immediately started having our people work from home. In our branches, we closed down our branch lobbies and went to drive-through only. We have each of our individuals working inside of those branches, separated from the members. And back to an earlier question, Manifest did a great job at helping us get some sanitizing fluids for cleaning everything before it goes back and forth between the members and our staff. And then we've continued to work to push even more of our contact center people out of our contact center and into working from home. Those individuals that are left on site, we've done the exact same thing of social distancing and making sure that we keep them separated. One of the things that we were very proud of is day one, we guaranteed every one of our employees that we would continue to pay them throughout this, no matter what, no matter why. We encouraged them to tell us if they were sick, if they needed to stay home, if they had traveled, if they thought they needed to self-quarantine, or if they just needed to handle childcare. And we told them that whether they could work or not work at home was our issue, whether that was for technical reasons or because of the type of work we did, but that we had a responsibility to them. They are part of our community, they are part of our membership, and we had a responsibility to continue to pay them and to keep at least that portion of the economy moving forward.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Both of you guys are giving shout outs to Bacardi and Manifest Distillery. I wanted to say you're great chamber members, support the community, and they stepped up immediately to do this. So that's great stuff. Question for Brian, is it mandatory to be in business for at least 1 year? I started in October 2019, but I have my taxes done for 3 months of 19. Do you have to be in business for at least 1 year?
So I would want to take that question offline and see if we could find solutions for that individual, but at least the way that the program that we're discussing today is set up is that you are in business at least for 1 full year and have a year's tax return filed. But as I said, we do 10, 20, 30, $40 million of small business lending every single month. We have access to a variety of relief programs. We have consumer relief programs. I'd love to find a way that we can work with every single individual that has a need. Again, our intentions are to do the best that we can with every person, and we are part of this community. And so if the individual who asked that question reaches out to us, we'll try to find the solution.
Thanks. Mayor, we've seen so much momentum in our city. How do we keep that as we come out of this? And I know we've created so many jobs over the last 4 years. How do we keep this going?
Well, first of all, we got to be realistic about what we're coming out of, and we're going to take a hit on property taxes, sales tax, bed tax. The next budget is going to be difficult. And my guess is the next couple of budgets are going to be difficult. But we'll work through them, and it's just going to be about priorities. Infrastructure is going to remain important for a number of reasons. Infrastructure is essential. Neighborhoods have historically been left behind. We've amped up infrastructure in recent years. It's going to be important to continue to do that because it's the right thing to do, but it's also jobs. In terms of momentum on things that are not essential to government, we're just gonna have to reevaluate it. I don't have an answer to that right now.
Yeah.
My focus on this, when we come out of this, my immediate focus is on making sure that we take the steps necessary with our healthcare community to make sure that if we get another wave of this or something else, that testing is ready, hospitals are prepared, that we can trace folks that have symptoms, and we can resume keep some sense of normalcy and get people back on their feet. Government's going to have to still function in every other way, but that's really where my strategic focus is going to be. We're going to do things. I will say this: that when the president's ready to reopen the economy, we are now working on very specific things the city can do that will make it easier on businesses, whether it be construction, developers, anything that we can do from a regulatory standpoint or fee standpoint. We're evaluating all of that to make sure that when we open, we're open for business as a city.
Mayor, that's very welcome news. Sometimes dealing with government causes the private sector to be frustrated because they want to get the product in the ground as quick as possible. And this could be an opportunity for us to take and make streamline opportunities, keep everybody safe with building sciences and development, making sure that we protect the environment. But can we speed up the process maybe we can take advantage of that and come out of this better when we're moving the economy forward. That's a great comment. Mayor, what else can citizens do to help? This is a good one. Help support healthcare and medical professionals. And I know that you've made a couple of comments about masks and other things. What are you seeing that we can do as a community to support our great healthcare system?
Well, the average person, it's simple stuff. If you're out, wear a mask. Homemade mask, it largely prevents the person in front of you from getting an infection if you have one. But if everybody's wearing a mask, then everybody's preventing it. You're assuming you're carrying something. And why is that important? You don't want, we don't need to load up our hospital and healthcare facilities at a time like this unnecessarily. The biggest thing is making sure that we we have behaviors in place that will not spread this thing or will not infect us with something else and land us in a healthcare facility at this moment in time. I think, when you see, just thank doctors, nurses, just thank them when you see them. Believe it or not, look, I'm not, they're facing danger every day, okay? And believe it or not, the small statement of thank you, I appreciate you, on people that are under stress and pressure goes a very, very long way. My life's not at risk on any given day. I'm not facing COVID-19 patients. But I can tell you that when I'm in the grocery store and I'm tired and I'm worn out and I'm wondering, when we come out of this and someone says thank you, that goes a long way. So imagine how far that'll go with someone that's literally in the battle every day.
That's great stuff. Mayor, are you talking to the hospital CEOs? I mean, they're great members of our organization. I've talked to them a couple of times, but I assume that you're talking to them on a regular basis. Updates, are they doing okay?
Yeah, we do a weekly organized call with all of us, and then I just, during the week, on any given day, literally every day, I'm antsy about information, and I call them and we talk individually. Look, they're leaders, right? They are. They're right now. They're in the midst of the battle, if you will, and they appear strong and they're doing their jobs. But you just asked a question. I just gave advice on thanking people and ask people how they're doing. I need to ask those guys how they're doing, because all I do is call them and ask them for information at this point.
Yeah, maybe those can be your 7 o'clock calls tonight.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Brian, there are a lot of programs out there. Would you say one might be worth applying for before the other, or would you suggest casting a large net and applying for all of them at once?
So of the programs that I know of, as we discussed, many of them are available at the same time to people. What I would say is that, there's a lot of people in need and there's a lot of people applying at the same time. And so just manage what you're gonna apply for and pursue and take out as to whether your organization needs it, because there's someone else in line behind you, in queue behind you, who may need it. And so I would make a reasonable decision on that, of applying for as much as you need and in as many places as you need, but being conscious of not overwhelming the system. We talked earlier that, we have a small business team that's built out to do 10, 20, 30 million a month, and we've taken in 100 million in loans in under 24 to 72 hours. That puts a huge stress on those people, and they're trying to get as many dollars to people as quickly as possible. And so we just want to make sure that we're getting it to the most relevant individuals who are in the greatest amount of need as quick as possible. There are funds there that are available. They're available from us. We have the liquidity. We have the funds to do this program. The federal government has the funds to do their program. So just being conscious of that, make a good decision about what is available, evaluate all the options, choose which you need to apply for. It may be multiple, and then also manage that you don't go overboard because there are others in need.
I'd like to make a little comment on that. When you, as a small business owner, and you're stressed out and you're dealing with the folks that work for VyStar or other financial institutions, please try to understand what they've been dealing with over the last 72 hours. And there's no reason to yell at anybody or to get frustrated. I think it's like the mayor saying, it's time for us to all pull together and make sure that, you know, have patience, because this is an unprecedented situation. Are you seeing that, Brian?
You know, I am really proud of the community as a whole, the city as a whole, our membership. We are having a lot of positive feedback from individuals. Individuals are saying thank you. Individuals are coming together to do good, to help others. You know, we've been engaged with a variety of nonprofits around donating money to Feeding Northeast Florida and working with cultural organizations, working with the nonprofits. We brought together this past week a group of twice we brought together a group of about 10 or 12 credit unions and did a group donation as the credit unions of Northern Florida to help sew masks, do rethreaded and things like that. So seeing a ton of positive things, and I don't mean to minimize those. We have also seen the frustrated individuals, and we can put ourselves in their place and we can understand where they're coming from. I don't think that I've ever mentioned this, but in my past, I've owned a few different small businesses, purchased businesses, grown them, sold them, things like that. I get the feeling of, oh my God, where's the next dollar coming from? How are we going to pay the rent? How are we going to pay the employees? Not as much right now as individuals who are doing that while going through this. So I get that people are stressed. We've had some individuals that have expressed that anxiety. And we try to work through each of those situations. We're doing our best, as is every financial institution. This is not a time for credit unions versus banks or anything. Everyone is trying to get the money out there as quick as possible and doing their best. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes of moving that money from the SBA through a financial institution to a small business in a much quicker manner than ever has been done before, with changing guidelines pretty much by the hour at some point. And I'm not picking that. That was necessary. They were building the program on the go. But there's a lot going on. But what I have seen is everyone doing their best, working long hours. You know, I was on with my chief lending officer last night at 11:45 at night, and again at 6:30 this morning. We are doing everything we can, as is every one of our peers in this city and across the country.
I believe it. I believe it. I'm getting questions on the program again. We've got about 8 minutes left in this discussion. I want to remind everybody, you can go to the JAX Chamber COVID-19 site, and the bill summary is there for you. But Brian, they're asking if you could just run through the terms of what the small business loan program is one more time, because I think we kind of went through it pretty quick. And then what I'd like to do is come back through and let the mayor give some comments on just generally what we can do to pull together as a city. But could you just run through the program one more time, Brian?
Sure. Daniel, you gave a great location to get some information from the bill. Across the top of VyStarCU.org, it has links to all of our programs, including this program. It has details there. But this is a line of credit that is up to $100,000. And you can take that out if you are a business within Duval and you have between 1 and 100 employees, and you've been in business for at least a year and filed a tax return. We are being more lenient in our underwriting. Once approved, you are getting I don't think we've mentioned this one, the $1,000 grant into the small businesses account immediately. That is a grant from the city, and thank you, Mayor, thank you, City Council, for everything you're doing to step up for the small businesses in our community. Then you have a year draw on that, or a 6-month draw on that line of credit. During that first year, there are no principal payments. There is interest that accrues, but no matter what, the city is covering that interest portion. That interest portion is an automatic cover by the city. When you move into years 2 through 6, which is the 5-year repayment period, there are different levels, cliff levels of if you maintain, as the mayor said, 50% or 100% of your FTE, and that will impact what amount of interest is either forgiven by the city or principal. I would say the mayor and the city council, and they've talked a lot, and they've talked about these numbers around $20 and $30 million. That is a huge investment by the city, and that is to cover the grant program up front, the interest payments, and the principal pay down. But that is in addition to, that's not the full value of the loan program. The loan program is, right now, we've got 500 applications in already. We're able to process about 75 of those a day. Most people are doing the full 100,000. So you get a loan program, that's the application side right now. We've got 50 million worth of applications already on that program. And so the full value of that program and the full investment and injection into the community is very significant and will be impactful, especially when you look at other communities and they have the PPP too. We have both of these options, and both of these, they'll get to the community, small business owners at different times and speed, but I think it's outstanding for our city council and our mayor to have stepped up and to have supported and worked with a local institution to provide these out to the city businesses as quick as possible.
Yeah, big thanks to them and City Council President Scott Wilson, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mayor, the questions are more for you, are comments of how many of them are saying just thank you for your commitment to small businesses. We appreciate it. These are my members that are all commenting on how much they appreciate it. Not so many questions, but just comments to let you know they appreciate it. What parting words do you have for our members? We have close to 500 people watching right now, sending questions in, thanking you both for what you're doing. What message do you have for them, Mayor, as we go through our daily lives?
Well, first I want to say they recognize the unique partnership with the city and with VyStar in this effort. You know, it's difficult for government to figure out how to deploy cash to people and businesses when needed and to do it efficiently. So it's easy for me, like I'm an idea guy. I come into the office and I haven't been a small business owner. I recognize people need help and I tell my team, we got to figure out how to get cash to businesses fast so they can keep employees. Easy to throw out a big idea, not easy to execute.
Yeah.
And for the partnership that my team pulled together with VyStar, it just happened so fast. The ability to deploy cash to businesses is just a game changer for our community. And it's important that I think that we recognize that. I said before, and I want to restate it with some level of specificity. We are working, my team is working on understanding what the business, anybody that interfaces with government because to execute their business, what are the things that we can do when the president opens the economy back up? Because we're going to be ready to go. Like the game has changed, and we want to make it efficient and speedy and easy for people to resume what they were doing on a daily basis before this happened. That's going to be a focus. And look, this is going to continue to be a long haul, even when we come out of this, because there's predictions about this could come back in the fall. And we as a community, as a city, are going to do the things that we can to mitigate round 2 of this or even something else. Mm-hmm. And we just got to stick together. From my perspective, I think I put on Twitter a few days ago, from my perspective, politics died in recent weeks. And that's not a judgment. People are going to have to play politics. You know, elections require politics, but I'm not going to be on the ballot again. And I have one concern, and that's the people of our city and the businesses of our city.
Wow. That's some great words, and I do want to let you know our organization, the 3,000 members, appreciates you, Mayor, and what you've done. Brian, your leadership in revitalizing downtown and making our city great we're very grateful for what you've done to be a leader. And hey, I know you're busy. I know you got to get back to work and do important things, but you spending just a couple minutes with our members today means the world to me. And I want to say thank you very much. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.